Okay guys, I wanted to make this video for a while. I've felt this way for such a long time since I've played the Resident Evil 2 remake for the first time. And now I'm finally getting to it. And I'll start first with a little history lesson to show like where I'm coming from, to make you understand where I'm coming from with this video. But yeah, maybe not many people know this, but Mikami is not the person who is really responsible for Resident Evil's story. The person mostly responsible for Resident Evil 1's scenario was Kenichi Iwao, the person who came up with the whole umbrella bioweapon plot in substance, that kind of story. Apparently Mikami did not take kindly to this and had a hand in ultimately pushing Iwao out of Capcom, because Kenichi Iwao did not work on Resident Evil 2 at all. He had already left Capcom at that point, I think, or was in the process of leaving Capcom. First, he was put off from working on another Resident Evil. He was put on to work on other projects, and then he was disillusioned, was starting to become disillusioned with the industry, and then left Capcom, and I think he joined Square Enix, where he ended up working on Parasite Eve. So yeah, well, good job Capcom and Mikami for your bruised ego.
Oh, that's just freaking great.
But yeah, after Iwao was pushed out of Capcom, and there was nobody who will know like how to push the story forward properly. And in fact, they came up with as you know, with Resident Evil 1.5, the version of Resident Evil 2 that never got released because apparently, according to them, this is not me saying this, this is them saying this, it sucked. It was Capcom employees, developers who worked on the game. They said it sucked. And they asked for help to the person who will come in to work on the story next after Iwao, which was Noboru Sujimura. Someone at Capcom asked his opinion on Resident Evil 1.5 story, and Sujimura, I think, said, "This sucks. Let me rewrite this," something like that, on the lines of that. And yeah, that's how Sujimura came on board. He rewrote the script and everything for Resident Evil 2, and that's the version we got to play. And I mean, from what I have seen of Resident Evil 1.5, to be honest, it looked boring because this police station was a police station like you can see everywhere. It was very anonymous. I think I understand what they mean when they say the game was boring, because from the videos I've seen, it felt like a more boring version of Resident Evil 1. It didn't have any soul if you looked at the videos and the screenshots. So I totally understand why they canned it. And even Mikami himself said it was boring to play. So I mean, Mikami might not be that good at writing stories, but he knows his stuff when it comes to gameplay. So if he says that, I believe him. But yeah, Sujimura then came in and also ended up working on other stories for Capcom games, other projects. But in terms of Resident Evil, he wrote the stories for Resident Evil 2, Code Veronica, and one of the prototype versions for Resident Evil 4. I think it was the one where Leon goes to the castle in Europe, to Spencer's castle in Europe, I think, to save Sherry. But this version was later, was scrapped and later repurposed. The script, I mean, the story, was later repurposed to be implemented in Devil May Cry 1 and also in Haunting Ground. In fact, both games take place in a castle, so makes sense. While other games he worked on also included Dino Crisis 2, Dino Crisis 3, and the Onimusha series. Tsujimura's background before coming in to work at Capcom, he had mostly worked on Super Sentai shows, from what I've seen. Those types of shows, and also a few movies. So he was not really like a nobody in Japan. I think he was quite famous overall, and he apparently was a fan of Resident Evil 1, because that was the only Resident Evil that had come out at the time before he came in and started working on it himself. Sadly, Tsujimura died in 2005, so his loss I think it was definitely felt at Capcom, because he had become an important part of Capcom's creative process, in my opinion. If you look at all the games he worked on a lot of very good Capcom games, so that must mean something. And also, look at the final release of Resident Evil 4. The story is just laughable. Doesn't even look like a Resident Evil story, honestly. It's hands down the worst story in Resident Evil, in the franchise. Resident Evil 4's story, I mean. But yeah, after this small history lesson, let's see what the post-Mikami era brings, because I think it's necessary to set the tone and explain what I mean going forward with the video. So, like many of you know already, shortly after Resident Evil 4 release, around 1 year later, I think, Shinji Mikami left Capcom mostly because of the decision to port Resident Evil 4 on the from the GameCube to the PS2, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back. So he decided to leave and to do his own thing. But Resident Evil was still with Capcom. It was still Capcom's franchise. So what was gonna happen to it? Well, you see, after Resident Evil 6, there was a change in how Resident Evil stories were written. Back in the old days, Resident Evil had that Japanese drama vibe to it, where dialogues and writing were not strictly realistic, but more theatrical, in the sense that characters will act more politely, composedly, than what your average Joe would if you put them in the same situation. And it also had that classic touch of Japanese culture, the Japanese people working on a story that takes place in the West. Sort of like, think Castlevania, think Metal Gear, and that's also what made it unique. Because when a Japanese studio worked on a franchise, it was totally different compared to what a Western studio would make, especially back then. Back then, the difference was even more marked. And that's also why, in my opinion, Japanese studios at the time were on top of the world. So yeah, the story, the setting the setting was like that took place in the West, in a Western country. But the storytelling was strictly handled by Japanese, with their sensibilities and writing and everything. And for example, think about this. Something apparently so insignificant as all the stars members having different colored vests is something that only Japan will do. If it was a Western studio, all the characters will have the same uniform. The games at the time will get into great detail about the lore, the creatures, the story. I remember spending hours back in the early 2000s visiting RE sites, reading again all the files and every other bit of lore and speculation, the plot of the games, and so on. Even Resident Evil 5 still had that same type of sensibilities for the most part, even if Western influences were already starting to seep in, because back in the 360 PS3 gen, like even Japanese studio were starting to westernize their modus operandi, and Capcom was definitely one of the most affected by this. Capcom is definitely the studio that tries to westernize itself the most back in that time period. And yeah, as far as Resident Evil 5 goes, there was a nice amount of lore and files as well. And with it being the closing chapter of the Umbrella, Wesker, Spencer storyline, it had to, because you had to. If you have to close a chapter in a story, you have to give explanations, give outcomes to people. So, but then with Resident Evil 7 being presented as a new beginning, they also completed the westernization of the franchise by hiring the guy who worked on Spec Ops: The Line to write the story. And you know, so it's a Western writer. It was the first time Resident Evil was being written by a Western writer. And if you had been playing Resident Evil since the early days, you could tell something was different with its dialogue choices. Characters will talk more in a less formal way. Will swear way more as well.
What the fuck are you, Mia? Zoe, right? And what the fuck are these?
Shut up and listen if you want to stay alive.
There are crazy people in this house trying to fucking kill me. A fucking pocket knife? Fuck! 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 Jesus, fuck! I just got done dealing with your mom and her fucking bugs. What the fuck? Well, that's special. Just fucking stay dead, okay? Fuck you! Fuck! Fuck you too! The fuck do you want? Okay, you little bitch. Where the fuck are you?
But I personally did not mind too much yet, since it was new characters, new story, and a new location. It was Resident Evil 7 was marketed as a as a new beginning. So I didn't mind much the change in tone at first. The problem for me became evident when they started remaking the games, the older games, with this same style of writing, starting with Resident Evil 2, I mean, back in 2019. Now, pay attention, I'm not talking about the acting, because I'm sure there will be people who will say, well, you know, the acting is bad in the old games. Which, parenthesis, other than in Resident Evil 1, it's blatantly untrue. Resident Evil 2 and 3 had decent acting, all things considered. It still holds up. It's not the best, of course, but it still holds up. And Resident Evil 1 got fixed with the remake. It got decent voice acting, normal voice acting. But you could argue that also Code Veronica had shitty voice acting too, but it was mostly two characters in Code Veronica that had bad voice acting, which were Steve and yeah, Alfred. Yeah, you know that.
Pilot mode. I can't switch over to manual control.
My apologies, but I cannot let you escape now.
Alfred, you cross-dressing freak!
But yeah, no, I'm talking about what they say mostly. Like the phrases that come out of their mouths. The dialogues. So you'll find yourself with characters like Leon, Claire, Birkin, Irons, Annette, Ada, you know, those characters who act like a completely different person to what they used to be. Now, there's a lot to say about this, and it should probably warrant another video because this is probably gonna get long. But you know, I'll still talk about it since people nowadays on YouTube seem to enjoy long videos, so let's get to it. Okay, let's move on to talk about the characters in the Resident Evil 2 remake. But first I want to mention, before I said that Resident Evil 7 had the guy who worked on Spec Ops The Line working on it. But yeah, he only worked on Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil 2 remake was written by another guy, Brent Friedman, I think his name is. So yeah, the writing in this game is not on the Spec Ops guy. And all like subsequent games, I think they were written by other people too. Like Resident Evil 8 by another person, and Resident Evil 2 remake by another person as well. But it's not important. They're all Western writers. But I'm gonna talk mostly about Resident Evil 2 remake in this video. Resident Evil 2 remake's characters, and also Jill from Resident Evil 3 remake. But yeah, let's proceed with Claire. When Irons has her at gunpoint, for instance, she'll try to threaten him and flaunt her brother's status to scare him, which honestly is something very stupid to do, especially when dealing with an unstable individual. If you look at how she acted in comparable situations in the past, in other incarnations, in other games, well, she wasn't as in your face and reckless like that. Think, for example, when she meets Wesker in Code Veronica, or when she confronts Irons for the last time again in Resident Evil 2. Think of that. think how she acted in those situations and how she acted against Irons in Resident Evil 2 Remake.
Greetings. You must be the lovely Claire Redfield.
Who are you?
Let's just say that I'm a ghost, coming back to haunt your dear brother.
Wesker?
It seems there's not much explaining to do, is there? I was the one who attacked this island. Who'd have thought you'd be hanging about? All the better for me. Now that the cat dragged in this nice surprise, your ever so caring brother will definitely show up. I must thank you for being such good bait.
I don't know what went on between you two, but you have him all wrong. My brother is not the kind of person you think he is.
I despise Chris.
What are you gonna do to him?
Oh, how your brother will weep to see you die. What? What is it? Stay there. I'm coming. It appears you may be of some further use to me. I'm going to let you live a little longer.
So you've made it this far. Not bad, girl. But I'm not letting anyone leave my town. Everyone's gonna die.
Calm down, Chief. What happened?
Shut up! You couldn't possibly understand what's happened. Those monsters from Umbrella have destroyed my beautiful town. How could they do that to me after everything I've done for them?
I mean,
So it's true. You have been working with Umbrella. Then you must know about the G-Virus. What is it? Tell me!
If you must know, it's the agent that can turn humans into the ultimate bioweapons. Superior to the T-Virus in every way. Dr. William Birkin is the genius behind the project.
William Birkin.
I'm sure you've already seen his little girl running around here somewhere. Sherry, isn't it? In case you haven't already figured it out. The monster that's been tearing my precinct apart is yet another product of the G-Virus. An ultimate bioweapon. Umbrella must be trying to cover its tracks. But if I have to go, I'm going to take you with me. I just can't take the pain.
yeah, he ate too much fast food. That's what happens. And now I'll show you how she acts in the remake in a comparable situation. So when she's clearly under a total disadvantage, she is with her back to the wall pretty much. She has no escape. Where the enemy is either has her at gunpoint or totally overpowered, like in Wesker's case. Look how she acts in the remake, after I've shown you how she acted in comparable previous situations.
Sherry? I've been looking everywhere for you, Sherry. Brave little girl, leave her house in the middle of this mess. On the ground, hands behind your head.
You can't be serious.
On the ground, now. Sherry, tie her hands.
Why are you doing
Shut up. Tie her.
Yeah, why?
You tie her up now, or she dies.
Like, why?
What's this all about?
Child endangerment, for starters. Sherry, come here.
What are you gonna do to her?
None of your fucking business.
You heard her. I swear to God, my brother is stars and I will fuck
Sherry, get over here.
This is so cringe.
What's your name? What's your fucking name?
Claire!
Sherry, you come with me now. I'll say goodbye to Claire.
Okay, I'll go. You better be taking me to my mom.
Absolutely.
Don't listen to him. He's shit. Stop hurting her, please!
Don't tell me how to do my job.
Stop! Let me go! Let me go!
Obviously, nobody taught you manners. We'll fix that. Oh, yes, we will.
Let me go! Let me go! I'll get you, you fucker!
So, do you see what I mean? She just doesn't give a fuck. She starts insulting the guy that's pointing a gun at her. Like, he could blast her off any second. Like, without no regard for her safety. Look at how she acted against Wesker on Irons in Resident Evil 2 Original. She didn't try to enrage them, she didn't try to taunt them or act tough. She was just, I don't know, evaluating the situation and try not to enrage her aggressor, because she was clearly in a position of disadvantage compared to Wesker or Irons. But no, in the remake she doesn't care. She tries with all her wits to get herself killed by Irons, but he doesn't bite. Because plot armor, I guess. Honestly, Remake 2 Claire is not someone that comes off as having a good head on her shoulders, which is what you will expect from a person with her background. And what I mean with that is that Chris and Claire are orphans. I don't know exactly how long they have been without parents, but it's been quite a while already. Chris has pretty much been acting as her father figure for a while. So they are supposed to be more mature than what their age will actually indicate, especially for Claire. If you have to get by in this world without parents at a very young age, you have to learn very fast how the world works. And Claire in the original just was more mature. She acted more like you will expect from a person of her background, honestly. In the original. In the remake, she's overconfident. She's too much. She thinks she's hot shit. For example, think at the end of the game when she's going against Birkin 3. She's all I know what I'm doing while going one-on-one, face-to-face against a monster that has slaughtered an elite team from Umbrella, an elite team of operatives from Umbrella. And Birkin 3 is even stronger than what Chris has faced so far in the series, so Resident Evil 1 and 2, I mean. Birkin 3, shits on the Tyrant in Resident Evil 1, power-wise. So, for her to be this confident while going against a monstrosity like that is just ridiculous. And yeah, she's loud-mouthed, obnoxious and superficial. think of her reaction with Leon, her interaction with Leon outside of the police station. Teehee, Leon, you're so cute. Yeah, you know what I mean. And something that really irks me about both Claire and Leon in this fucking game is their attitude of just look at what good of a person I am. While instead in reality they were always just normal persons trying their best in a shitty situation. But no, in the remake they just have to tell you how much of a couple of good persons they are, while in the original where they were too busy showing it off for real to be actually concerned about telling others that they are a good person. And this is a trend in this game. I can't fucking stand it. So yeah, Claire is completely a different person. Is not the Claire I remember in the original. She's just not the same. She's not mature. She's obnoxious. She's overconfident. And this is a clear mark of Western writing when they write women that are too overconfident to compensate. Now, as for Leon is too busy cosplaying as a cop and trying to impress new Ada to actually give a shit about saving people. And him believing Ada's cover story in this one is just plain retardation. Like, think about it. Ada says she's an FBI agent in this one, but we're talking about the same FBI that did send 30 agents to the Mar-a-Lago raid in search for classified documents. And also another thing, in universe, in Resident Evil 2 in universe, the US government was trying to cut a deal with Birkin to get the G-Virus, and they actually did send a squad of Marines, I think, to Raccoon City to recover the G-Virus and extract Birkin, but they were stopped by the tyrants that Umbrella dropped near the Dead Factory. In fact, in Resident Evil 3, at the end, you can see there's dead soldiers on the ground and dead tyrants. And yeah, of course, the US government's plan to get the G-Virus failed. But yeah, just think about it. The US government did send a whole squad of soldiers to extract Birkin. So why would they send a single FBI agent? It's just stupid. There's no way about it. Especially if you consider that in a situation like that, against a corporation as powerful as Umbrella, in a viral outbreak where BOWs are running loose everywhere, and they like, you expect me to believe they will send a single woman agent to deal with this mess? Come on, it's just stupid writing. Also, yeah, Leon has a weird obsession with saying about how he wants to save the city. Like, dude, have you looked around recently? There's nothing or no one left to save. The city's done. It's fucking done. And he also has a thing for pointing his gun at unarmed people, and has no problems letting people die because Mu chain of command in a zombie apocalypse. Like, think of Ben. Like, the dude is literally begging for his life, and Leon is like, Sorry, I need to ask mommy first. But you don't understand, he clearly wants to save people. Clearly. What a shit show, honestly. They made him so fucking dirty in this game. They made Leon so fucking dirty. They made him a fucking retard for believing Ada's cover story like that. It's just shameful. And also, as another side note, why the hell did they not give radios to the characters in this game? Like it was such an obvious thing to do in the original. That's just what they did. They gave them radios. Leon gives Claire a radio so they can stay in touch throughout the whole game and tell and communicate with each other when there's updates. Like for example, they one of them moves away from the area they are in, or they unlock a new path. But no, in the remake they thought it was a good idea to have the characters just not communicate at all and write the other person notes. Like so you're telling me they will have to stop and write notes with all that mess and leave the notes for the other character to read. It's just so unpractical. I don't know what they were thinking with this solution of theirs for the remake. The original clearly did this radio thing better.
Leon, come in. I found the girl, and I've cleared the wreckage that was blocking the corridor.
Got it.
Now, Irons himself, let's talk about him. He completely abandons any notion of being subtle by saying stuff like this in the files, for example. This is your first introduction to him, by the way. I just can't take him seriously after reading this. They just made him so over the top. Plus, I'm not really sure why he would want Sherry's pendant, to be honest. In the remake, it is never addressed as far as I know, and in fact, in the original, he didn't really care about Sherry or anyone else, he only cared about himself. And how he lost all the power he had. What made him stand out in the original was the fact that you could tell there was something terribly wrong about him the first time you meet him, even if he was just being polite to you in that moment. He was just a ticking time bomb, like waiting to explode on someone. Also, I wanna go on a tangent here and say that in the original, he is clearly set up way better. You first hear about him in the Star's office right when you're about to leave. A fax comes in. It's from an investigator who is replying to Chris's inquiry about Iron's past. And on there will also be mentioned that he was accused of sexual assault 2 times, I think. In the remake, this is not mentioned at all. They give you hints that he's probably like a sexual predator, by how he gushes when he disembowels the tiger, for example. But I don't know, it feels like they are afraid to openly state it. And this is something I have noticed, like in Capcom games in the last few years. They are afraid to be even remotely controversial. Think of the Resident Evil 4 remake or the Resident Evil 4 Oculus Rift release. They pretty much neutered all the dialogues that could be interpreted by some people as sexist, for example. But the old Capcom I know, the old Capcom I knew, honestly, was not this type of company. They actually used to push what you could do and say in games, if you think about it. Think of games like God Hand, for example. And yeah, it's just they are scared of controversy. And like, what's wrong, for example, with Leon saying woman? Like, what is wrong with that? It's not like he's calling them names. He's just being sarcastic. And even if okay, let's say you want to give like equal opportunity to dish sarcasm on each other, okay, then do like they did in Dark Side Chronicles, where Leon goes again woman, and then Claire says man. Like, make Ada go man and make her say man like Claire did in Dark Side Chronicles. Don't completely remove the line, because Twitter tards otherwise are gonna get triggered by that.
If she did come through here, why would she go alone? There's something about her that bothers me.
She just wants to get out of here, Claire, and she needs our help.
Ugh, men. You just want to impress her, don't you?
Women.
This is not the Capcom I knew, honestly. It's something else. And also, going back to Irons, the diaries, his secretary diaries are gone. They are not here anymore. And that also were an important piece in his characterization, in my opinion. But no, they are gone in the remake. No secretary. So yeah, Irons is another butchered character. Another butchered character by someone who clearly did not understand what he was about at all. Yeah, this is gonna be a trend in this remake. Now, for Ada. About Ada, I already talked about her cover story in this one, about how she's an FBI agent. I don't know what the writer was thinking with that, honestly. To me, it made much more sense for her to be like a normal civilian. Or at least, if you didn't want to make her a regular civilian, you could have made her like, I don't know, a cop from another area of America. That she was still coming here to look for her boyfriend, who worked for Umbrella. Like, why remove that plot point that was also already like pretty iconic in Resident Evil 1? Like, it was so iconic that the Sugimura thought to connect it to the second one. But to be honest, Ada was already in Resident Evil 1.5. I think she was an Umbrella scientist in Resident Evil 1.5. So it was not exactly on Sugimura alone to bring her to Resident Evil 2. But to me, it makes sense to keep that plot point about her boyfriend working for Umbrella, so she had an excuse to be there. A believable excuse, because, you know, my boyfriend is here. I'm worried about him. I haven't heard about him in a long time. What happened? But instead, no. I'm a single FBI agent that's gonna shut down Umbrella by herself. That's more believable. I'm sure. And I mean, it's not just that when it comes to Ada. I don't really like how she manipulates Leon with that kiss on the cable car. In the original, their kiss was genuine. It came at the end of the game in the B scenario only, after one last sacrifice from Ada against Mr.X. because she was helping Leon against Mr.X, and she took quite a beating to do that. So it was more symbolic. It was not manipulative in any way, in my opinion. But here, she just uses that kiss to make him shut up. I mean, probably they had to go with this route because in the remake, they decided to only adapt Leon's Ace scenario for his story. And since there was no kiss in the Ace scenario, they had to make up one where there wasn't, where it didn't make much sense for the character to do it. And yeah, it feels like she kisses him just to have him complete her mission, while in the original she was badly injured too. In the original, it's not a fact that is exclusive to the remake. She was badly injured in the original too. And she actually did ask him to leave her alone, to go away, because she knew there was the possibility she had to hurt him due to her task of recovering the G virus. And despite being injured, she sneaks away as soon as they part ways. She sneaks away to do her thing, to complete her mission. She doesn't wait for him to bring her the G virus, which is another misunderstanding by the writer about Ada's character. She didn't want to take advantage of Leon because she understood that he was a good person and not a buffoon who was cosplaying as a cop and a clown like in the remake, you know. But yeah, let's move on to the next character. Now the next character to be butchered is Annette. Actually, Annette and William, but I will talk William only briefly. But as for Annette, she became in this one a BPD bitch, how they call them. She flips flops every 2 seconds, like the world is about to end any moment because of her infected husband. Like, bitch, just go and say your daughter. Stop being so melodramatic. Like, original Annette cared more about her family than her work or role as a scientist. Yes, she valued both, but as soon as she would hear that Sherry was in danger, she would drop everything and went to her search. Like, while here in the remake you have to beg her to do something for Sherry. Like, come on. They made her a bad caricature of a career woman, fundamentally. And they misunderstood her character. Like, this guy can't write woman for shit.
Not enough time. Millions of lives are at stake.
Make up your mind, you fucking schizo.
Sherry, Mommy loves you, sweetie. Goodbye.
Yes, yeah, goodbye. Go take your meds, maybe.
Fucking kidding me.
This guy can only write one archetype, the obnoxious loud woman. He can only do that, or overconfident woman. He can only do that. And as far as William Birkin, they made him a whiny bitch in this one. Like, did they really have to ridicule him like this? Like, he was a stone cold motherfucker in the original. Like, I'm not gonna like go and claim, oh, William Birkin was a great character in the original. He was barely in the game, to be honest. He was more the type of character that is more important for lore reasons than what he actually does in the game. But yeah, well, they they made him a whiny bitch in the remake. Was it really necessary to humiliate him like this? Just look at the difference. And we get a nice exposition with a way better cutscene than what
this way.
It's in the remake. Where
sheer perfection. My precious G-Virus.
Where William cries.
No one will ever take you away from me.
Oh, G-Virus is mine.
There he is. So you finally come. Doctor, we're here to collect the G-Virus sample. Sorry, but I won't just hand over my life's work. Stop! You might hit the sample. That's it, all right. Okay, let's move out.
William. Oh my. Hold on, darling. I'm taking care of that bullet wound first. Stay here.
I mean, bullet wound, he got fucking eviscerated.
Alpha team, have you retrieved the sample yet? Affirmative. We'll be at the rendezvous point in 1 minute. Roger.
Dr. Birkin, you'll come along with us quietly.
You think I didn't know you were coming? This is my life's work. I'm not handing over anything.
We have our orders, Dr. Birkin. I'll ask you one more time. Hold your fire!
You don't get away that easily.
Good God, William. What have you done?
She is my creation!
Okay, I want to spend a few words on Sherry as well, because in the remake's ending she starts cracking jokes left and right after her mother's death, which like if you look at the cutscenes she seems pretty traumatized, but then not even an hour later she's cracking jokes about Leon and Claire being boyfriend and girlfriend, adopting a puppy or stupid shit like that, which I guess is another case of inconsistent writing. It's nothing new for this game, but I don't know. I think it's pretty egregious because it ruins the emotional moment that was created when her mother died. Like, I'm not gonna say she had to act like she was mourning, but like, come on, the disconnect is real. And as far as I remember, in Claire A, Leon B, she doesn't witness her mother's death in the original game. But still, even after that, in the game's ending, she doesn't start cracking jokes. The only comment she makes is, I think that it says that Claire looks horrible, jokingly, but that's it. That's the only thing she mentions. I don't remember in the Leon A, Claire B, if she watches her mother die, honestly. I'll have to replay it, but so far in the original she definitely acts way more accordingly to what I would expect a child that just went through something traumatic, because yeah, she doesn't witness her mother dying, but she gets infected by her father, so it's still pretty traumatizing. She risked her life because she could have died with the G virus infection. So yeah, another case of inconsistent writing. Now, what can you do? Okay, now last character I'm gonna talk about is Jill from the Resident Evil 3 remake, and I had briefly mentioned about her in my previous video about female characters in the industry, and yeah, I stand by my opinion. I think they have ruined her in the remake, and also like by changing her character. I think her whole older version was better. The new one has an insufferable attitude, like of someone that has always something to prove. Like it's like she has a chip on her shoulder and has something to prove to everybody else. She will give people snark over nothing. For example, her first few interactions with Carlos are kind of jarring because she just treats him like crap, and it's also his fault. It is also Carlos' fault in the remake because he doesn't push back much for some reason towards Jill. He kind of simps for her. Meanwhile, in the original, Carlos, as soon as Jill brought up the fact that they were working for Umbrella, he just said, well, hey lady, we're just hired contractors. So like, we work for the company, but we are not the company. Like, so you bitching at me is pretty much like bitching to a call center operator. It's pointless because we don't call the shots.
I need to ask you something. Why did Umbrella send your team here?
Our mission is to rescue the civilians.
How kind of you. Considering Umbrella caused all this in the first place, those liars!
Look, we're just mercenaries, hired hands. Do you really think the Master would tell his dogs why they have to retrieve the stick he just threw? No time for talking. If you can believe me, then join us. Think about it.
We just follow orders. We don't know anything. And yeah, after that, Jill understands how things are and doesn't bring up anything ever again about this. But no, like in the first few, in the remake, she will keep giving Carlos and also Mikhail a bit of snark, insufferable snark, with her higher than thou attitude, which I honestly can't stand in a character, and especially in a female character, because that's the kind of attitude that instantly makes a woman annoying to me. And yeah, so she's definitely not up to par to the old Jill. She's a pale imitation, and also she lost her caring side, because I remember when she interacted the first time she met Mikhail, he was hurt. He was wounded kind of badly in the original game, and she is worried about him. He was unconscious, yes, but the kind of wound he has is pretty much the same in the remake. While in the remake, he gives him snark once again. And that makes her insufferable, because why are you doing this? Why? They're trying to save people. You don't have to be snarky about that. Just do your job and give them a hand. And even when Carlos gives her a radio, she goes, "Oh, I know what a radio is."
Here you go. We can use this to stay in contact.
I know what a radio is.
Like, this is not how you write a decent Jill. Let me tell you that. And also, I don't know if it's just me, but most of the characters in these games, when they try to act as if they are concerned about someone, I don't know, they come off as insincere. For example, when she tries to tell Kendo to come with them, I don't know, to me she communicates like she doesn't really give a fuck whether Kendo comes or not.
No shit. Look, we're using the subway to get people out of town. You in?
Subway. Well, that's good thinking.
When we get out, there's gonna be a lot to do. We could use a man of your skill set. What's wrong?
Nothing. Just bad timing is all. Well. Look, don't worry about me. I'm gonna make other arrangements, okay?
You better. You're the best gunsmith around.
Oh, no.
Don't do anything stupid.
Oh, that's your job, right?
I don't know if it's the acting or what, but that's how she comes off to me. And also, if you think back in Resident Evil 1, in the remake, when she listens to Barry talk by himself, she gets kind of worried about him. She presses him to know what's going on. And it's only after Barry like gets out of the room that she gives up. But she was kind of worried. You could see that she was concerned for him. But in the remake, I don't know. She doesn't seem like she gives much of a fuck whether Kendo comes or not. I don't know, but maybe it's just me. But yeah, in definitive, modern Jill is obnoxious, and she looks like Lara Croft. Honestly, I can't tell her apart from Lara Croft or any other generic modern female tough, strong, independent woman character. Which sucks, because Jill was a very distinctive female character in the industry, but now she's just another generic empowered woman, yeah. And also personal consideration, but to me, original Jill always came off as someone with a rather high intelligence level. Like, if I look at classic Jill, I could believe that she actually like can play piano, she can pick locks, she can handle chemicals, she trained in Delta Force, even though that's a bit of a stretch. But yeah, I can believe she's a high achiever, because she comes off as a very intelligent person in the original, mostly. While I don't know, if I look at new Jill, she doesn't come off as intelligent to me. She comes off as someone who is easily enraged.
How is this fucker not dead yet?
Just no. And can do stupid things very easily. Like, if you think at how she tackles Nemesis with the car in the remake and jumps off the fucking building with the car trying to hit Nemesis, she should have been dead then and there. And that was a very stupid thing to do. Like, just jump out of the car before Nemesis gets hit. No, she had to like go down with the whole car. And it's stupid. New Jill comes off as not a very, very intelligent. But yeah, let's move on, because this video has already been long enough. So I'll talk about a few more things, and then that's it. Another thing I want to talk about is the files, because to me, as a Resident Evil fan of long history, files in a Resident Evil are very important because they are also an indication of what kind of writing you can expect in that chapter of the saga. And the files in this game sucks. Like, there's no way about it. Some are decent, like some of the ones you find in the orphanage are okay, but overall they're not very good. I've shown a couple, the ones related to irons. Those are laughable. There's a few also that are lacking, like the ones from his secretary, like I said before, that because they added more to his character. They added some depth to his character. And as far as I remember, there's no proper diary from Irons either in this game. There's just that scribble that says Sayonara Suckers. And also his taxidermy file, taxidermy diary, small diary. It's very small. But other than that, in terms of irons or files related to irons that explain his background or something like that, there's nothing else. So it's very lacking on that front. But they are not as in depth as the files in the original Resident Evil. But I want to discuss right now mostly the letter that Claire's carries along from her supposed friend, that I don't think it was in the original at all. But I don't know, this letter is quite something, because this supposed friend of Claire's tells her to be careful and whatnot, but she also tells her that she is crazy because Claire wants to go and find her brother, which, mind you, Chris is Claire's only family. She has no one else in this world. So this friend is telling her not to go in search of her brother, which Claire hasn't heard from in a while, at least a month, because somebody might take advantage of her, as in like sexually, because she's a hot college student, and you know that in America you can't travel around the country if you're a hot college student, because someone is clearly, definitely going to rape you. That's how it works in America. Or so this supposed friend of Claire thinks. Because, I mean, Claire is armed. In this one, she goes around armed, unlike in the original. So, it's not like she's defenseless. She's carrying iron. Plus, she knows where she's going. She's going to Raccoon City. And in addition, she's going to the police station. It's not like she's going to a club to snort some coke and get butt-fucked in the bathroom. So why is her friend supposedly freaking out for her and calling her crazy for wanting to find her only family, but for wanting to find out about what happened to her only family in this world? I don't know. I guess we will have to ask the writer what he was thinking when he wrote that letter. But yeah, the files are mostly garbage. A few decent ones, but overall they don't hold a candle compared to the original, in my opinion. Now I also want to touch briefly on the dialogues for the remake, because I think they are quite lacking overall. And overall low quality, I would say, because they don't really give you an idea or expand on the lore or what's going on in general. For the most part, like for example, think the interaction between Claire and Leon outside of the police station, because in the remake that's the only physical interaction they will have during the course of the story. After the first time they meet, I mean. That whole interaction is a waste of fucking time. It's just a bunch of gibberish. They act like a bunch of teenagers instead of like adult people like they're supposed to be. Yeah, I know Claire is 19, but she's acting like she's 15 in that dialogue. Like she is more concerned about flirting with Leon than actually like trying to figure out, you know, what the fuck is going on here. And same with Leon. They don't say anything to each other. They just say no, it's just noise. While in the original, when they meet inside the station, they exchange informations, they talk. I think in both scenarios they communicate to each other, either Claire telling Leon or Leon telling Claire that his brother is not there. So there's no point in them staying there anymore and to look for survivors and get the fuck out of there.
Leon!
Claire, you made it!
Yeah. Have you seen a little girl around here?
Yeah, you just missed her. Who is she?
I don't know. But it's too dangerous for her to stay here alone. Leon, I'll go look for her. You go and find us a way out of here.
Of course. But before I forget, here's a radio. That way we can keep in touch if something comes up.
That's the conclusion they reach after they meet inside the station. But no, in the remake they just stand there saying nothing for a whole like 5 minutes, I think, or how much that cutscene lasts, I don't remember. And that's it. Claire doesn't even manage to tell Leon in the remake that in the case she's one inside that was inside the station and Leon outside. She doesn't even manage to tell Leon that her brother is not there, because she just tell him, yeah, I found my brother, he's, and then the helicopter crashes, and that the only important part of the dialogue gets cut out by the helicopter. Everything else is a waste of fucking time.
Claire?
Yeah, also look at the dialogue here.
Leon! I'll be right there!
Look at how horrible the dialogue is here.
Leon, we really gotta stop meeting like this.
Are you alright? Police chopper just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I take it you don't have the key.
No, you don't. It's good to see your face, though. How are you holding up?
I'm hanging in there.
Hell of a night, huh?
Yeah. You find your brother?
I did, actually. He's... Just me think it can't get any worse. Leon, you should get going.
Don't worry about me. Just get yourself to safety.
No, Leon, seriously, they're getting through the fence. Please, just go.
make it. Both of us.
Like, why? Simply why? They didn't say anything. Also, I love how in the remake the helicopter just crashes out of nowhere. They didn't even bother to make up a reason for why the fucking chopper crashes. Meanwhile, in the original, if you remember, there's actually a cutscene for the helicopter crashing that shows you how it crashed in the B scenario, which is I mean, I always thought it was interesting because before playing the B scenario, I always assumed that the chopper had crashed because some kind of flying creature made it crash. But no, and then when you play the B scenario, you actually get to see how it crashed, and it's fucking cool. And they couldn't even adapt that in the remake. So how disappointing. And that's not the only instance where dialogues are pretty bad. For example, another instance that comes to mind is that when Leon gets attacked by the dog in the remake, which is the first interaction with Ada, because Ada comes and saves him. Okay, keep that in mind. Leon got assaulted by an infected dog, so it's an animal. And later on in the game, when they go to the sewers, and Leon has to face the crocodile, the giant crocodile, in the sewers. You will then tell Ada that, but you didn't tell me that the virus turns reptiles into monsters, only people. Except that, you know, he forgot that he got assaulted by a fucking dog, an infected dog. So what makes you think that if a dog can get infected, other animals can't? Like, what makes you think that? It's kind of disingenuous by Leon. And it's another instance of bad writing. Yeah.
Chew on that, you overgrown son of a bitch.
I think it's obvious they added this thing like at the last minute, or really they didn't put much time into it at all.
Leon, up here.
What the hell was?
Just get up here.
Yeah, shut up, Leon, and get up here. Be a good boy. Look how whatever.
Can't say I didn't warn you.
You said the virus turned people into monsters, not reptiles.
Fair point. I'm just...
No, not really, because you saw the virus turn dogs into monsters too. So why are you surprised? Another thing I don't like is that it really irks me how they don't refer to the T virus at all during the story. Like, they just say the virus, but the virus that causes the outbreak in Raccoon City is the T virus. But they just call it the virus. This is probably nitpicking, I know. But it just bothers me how they don't acknowledge the T virus at all. Because it's still pretty relevant. Most of the enemies you face in the game are infected by the T virus. And they just don't acknowledge it. They just say the virus. Meanwhile, in the original, they pretty much acknowledge it. Even Hirons, for example, mentions like how the T virus is no match for the G virus, but there's still, you know, a comparison, they make a clear distinction between the two. Meanwhile, in the remake, like I said, it's just the virus, and then there's the G virus, but they don't properly acknowledge the T virus, and that's annoying. Also, another little mention about the originals. I personally liked how all the characters knew each other for the most part. Like, for example, how Claire kind of knows who Wesker is in Code Veronica. Even Leon in Resident Evil 4, he has never met Wesker, but it makes sense for him to know him by fame, because he's a Secret Service agent. And Wesker is probably considered like a terrorist or some kind of national threat. So it makes sense for Leon to know who Wesker is. Like, the world, the characters felt all interconnected in the original games. While in the remakes, I don't know, they just removed all that, because Leon doesn't know who Wesker is in the remake. In Remake 4. Krauser doesn't know. I don't think Krauser knows Wesker at all in Resident Evil 4 Remake. Unlike in the original, where Krauser was secretly working for Wesker the whole time. And so on. So it made everything and the world feel more interconnected, but they decided to change this thing in the remakes for whatever reason. I don't know. Probably because more realism. Doesn't make sense for characters to know each other. Well, maybe it doesn't make sense for Claire to know who Wesker is, but Leon should know who Wesker is at this point. Because he's, like I said, he's probably a national threat. So the remakes are full of weird decisions like this. And now one last complaint about something else, always related to the writing. In regards to Kendo, no, I'm not gonna complain about Kendo. Kendo is fine. I mean, he's barely in the game. I'll say immediately, Kendo, Marvin, and Hank are probably my 3 favorite characters in the remake, because they are barely in, so they didn't have much time to fuck them up like they did with the others. So those 3 are okay in the remake. But what I don't like in regards to what they did with Kendo is they gave him a daughter, but it's just an exploit in the sense that they gave him a daughter to have a cheap emotional scene. The classic, oh, the child dies in the zombie apocalypse. Now be sad, please. It feels so forced. It's just a cheap scene to make you feel bad and evoke feelings, try to evoke feelings, but it doesn't feel genuine. It feels shoehorned. I'm not sure why they felt the need to do that, since there was already a child in the story, like Sherry was already a child. So I'm not sure why. And also, if you consider that Kendo, in the original, as far as I remember, Kendo didn't have any wife and daughter. His only known family was his brother, Joseph Kendo, which is Joseph is the salesman, while Robert is the gunsmith. So they could have done something with his brother instead. Why make up characters that don't exist just to oh, look at the poor girl who is gonna die because she's turning. poor kid. Yeah, like it's another instance of Western writing trying to chase once again the Last of Us effect. It's kind of a trope at this point. The poor child that dies in the apocalypse. Now feel bad for it. Yeah, no, not really a fan. But yeah, I think I've said everything I wanted to say in regards to like the writing and characters. In terms of gameplay, I don't like mostly a couple things. Like, I don't like how the aiming works. If aiming in this game feels like ass, it's so imprecise. I don't know what. I mean, I kind of get why they went with that because it's an horror game. But it doesn't mean that the aiming has to feel like slow and imprecise like that. You could also have gone for a different approach, for a more precise aiming, and maybe slightly more enemies on screen. Because honestly, there aren't that many zombies on screen in this game. They decided to go for a more tanky approach on the zombies. They made them like more tanky, but the aiming doesn't feel good. Also, it also like makes you feel like you should avoid combat rather than actually wanting to engage with the enemies. Meanwhile, I think that should be a player choice. You shouldn't like force the player's hand with a decision like that. For example, in this regard, I don't like how the damage system works in this game, because I'm of the opinion that headshots should do more damage. Headshots with a regular pistol should do more damage. The damage system should work kind of like Resident Evil 4, where headshots clearly do more damage. So you don't need that many consecutive headshots to kill an enemy, and it should be like that too in this game. But no, it works differently in Resident Evil 2 Remake, because no matter where you shoot a zombie with a regular pistol, you just deal the same damage. Doesn't matter where. And I think it's kind of a nonsense, because if you give me the chance to aim wherever I want, if I'm skilled enough to pull off enough headshots, why shouldn't I be able to kill enemies more quickly with the starting handgun? I'm not saying you should kill them like in one shot. No, like in Resident Evil 4. Usually, an average enemy in Resident Evil 4 an average ganado takes 4, maybe 5 headshots to go down with a regular pistol. Yeah, I think it should, for most zombies, it should work like that too in Resident Evil 2 Remake. Because then otherwise the pistol is not a very reliable weapon. It's just good to stagger the enemies or shoot their legs off, but nothing more than that. But what if I am skilled and I can pull off headshots and I want to save my shotgun shells? I can't do it because the devs decided that the pistol in this game is pretty much useless. Yeah, I don't like it. I mean, it's not a huge issue, but honestly, it should have been handled better, because it's just jarring when you see a zombie taking like 10 headshots and it's still going. It just creates a disconnect between the narrative, the immersion, and the gameplay. Because canonically, in the Resident Evil universe, zombies can take only one headshot to be killed by even a 9mm gun. And it's been seen like in the intro cutscene of Resident Evil 2, Leon shoots the zombie in the head, dead center, and it goes down in one hit. Also, Leon, always in Resident Evil The Generation, the first CG movie, that's canon by the way, he tells the other soldiers to aim for the head if you want to dispose of the zombies immediately. So, in canon, single headshots with regular pistols can kill zombies. But of course I don't expect in the game to be a thing. Like I said, even Resident Evil 4, it takes a few headshots to kill an enemy, and it should be here the same as well. Also because, like I said, headshots are not easy to pull off against zombies, because they bob their head a lot, they stumble a lot around, and when there's 2-3 zombies, you don't have the time to shoot all 3 on their heads. So if I want to like engage them in combat even with just a pistol, why can't I? That's my grievance in that sense. And also, when you get grabbed, I really don't like how the camera gets close, because it has happened a lot of time that after being grabbed, when the camera gets close and the animation is over, I'll find my character going in the opposite direction to where I was going before being grabbed, and that's fucking annoying, because like, it's the classic example of style over substance. Because the camera getting close when you get grabbed adds nothing to the gameplay. It's cool to see the first few times, but after a while it just becomes an hindrance. And they should have given the possibility in the menu to disable it, because it's just annoying after a while. Other small complaint: the defensive items against certain enemies don't give you enough invincibility frames. Like, for example, the G infants. I've been like, it has happened to me that I have been grabbed over and over and over by the G infants, and I kept using the defensive item to free myself, but then he recovers immediately and he grabs me immediately again. And yeah, it's just, it feels dull to play like this, because if I use a defensive item on an enemy, I should be able to go past them. They shouldn't be recovering before me. If I sacrifice one of those items, I should be able to go past them, at least in terms of recovery. And it means, I mean, invincibility frames, not really, but most in terms of the enemy recovery. They should take more to recover. And yeah, for the most part, these are my main complaints in terms of the gameplay. The gore system is pretty good. I like what they did. It's probably the best thing this game has to offer. It's very in detail, very graphic. I really like the gore system. Definitely top thing this game has to offer. Now, I also want to touch on Mr.X, because I don't really like the implementation he had in the remake. Honestly, concept-wise, I prefer how it is handled in the original. Meaning, I'm fine with him stalking you, but he should be able to stalk you only at specific times during the story, like in the original. for the most part. Like, I'm fine with having him like coming at me like during normal gameplay sessions as well. Like, for example, he's not following me, then something in the story happens and he starts following me. Like for example, in the story, when you have to solve the library puzzle, when you have to push the shelves, he'll spawn and start chasing you. I'm fine with that type of implementation. But the problem is that the Mr.X also follows you around during normal gameplay as well, especially in the second playthrough with the other character. He's following you from the beginning of the playthrough, as soon as you enter the police station. And it would be fine to have him on your ass all the time, but the problem is that you can't shake him off. Like, you just can't down him and he'll go away until the next story event triggers him again. That would be the ideal way. Because probably original Mr.X was supposed to be a stalker too, like Nemesis, that follows you through different rooms, but they probably didn't have the touch to do it, and then Nemesis in Resident Evil 3 was their final version of that type of enemy. So it's fine to have Mr.X as a stalker, even in normal gameplay sessions, but you should give me the chance to down him for good. Down him for good, and then he goes away until the next story event triggers him again. And that's how it should work. So the template should be like this. He is not following you. Story event happens. He starts following you. If you ignore him, he'll keep following you all around the station. But you have the choice to down him. So you get the resource, you down him, you get the resource, some resources back, and then he'll go away until the next story event triggers him again. Rinse and repeat. That's how it should work. If you down him, he should go away until the next story event. Period. Then when he's triggered, if you don't down him, he can stay around for whatever the fuck he wants. It's fine. But you should give me the chance to let him fuck off forever until the next story event, because at least that's more engaging than me having to run around to a safe station, to a safe room, and just close myself inside. That's not fun. Because in the game, in the remake, the way it is right now, it's not worth spending ammo to down him for just 1 minute. It's a useless exercise, pretty much. You waste resources and he only goes away for a very little time. So it just doesn't work. My implementation would be better, would make the game more fun. And the last gameplay thing I want to mention, even though this one is quite minor, but I still think it's it exemplifies like how the second playthrough wasn't really well thought. It's kind of half-assed, because in the second playthrough you can get another gun, and this handgun is a reference to the characters' alternate costumes in the original game. Like Claire gets a Western revolver, and Leon gets a 45 caliber pistol, a Colt, I think. And yeah, those pistols are exclusive to the fake B scenario, like I like to call it. But the issue with these pistols is that they will pretty much replace your main gun, in the sense that you won't get normal 9mm handgun ammo in the fake B playthrough. you only get ammo for this extra handgun you get. And the problem is that it doesn't work very well, because now you have this gun, this secondary gun, that receives no power-ups. Receives no power-ups compared to your other basic guns. Like the Matilda, for Leon, after you pick up all the power-ups, it becomes pretty good as a weapon. Meanwhile, the Colt is kind of sucky. Is slightly more powerful damage-wise, but other than that, it has a low fire rate, a very small magazine, and the same with Claire. Her secondary handgun, the Colt, not the Colt. I mean, yeah, it's like a Colt single-action army, but yeah, her secondary gun you pick up in the fake B scenario is not as good as the powered-up version of her basic gun, which also gets the possibility to carry magnum rounds, so it's quite good in that sense. And Claire also gets the Browning, which is the pistol she had at the beginning, the basic pistol she gets in the original Resident Evil 2. So she really didn't need that fucking Colt single-action army. Yeah, it shoots more fast than the basic gun, but you can't really power up that one either. So it's something that should have been optional and not forced upon the player on the fake B scenario, because it's just annoying that you're forced to use this gun and you don't get any ammo at all for the 9mm guns. You have to craft it. So yeah, this is a more minor complaint, but I still wanted to point it out because it's synonymous of the fake B scenario being very half-assed. Now finally we are approaching the last section of the video, where I talk about my final considerations in regard of this whole I don't know, how do we want to call this video? An essay? I don't know. These are just my thoughts. Also, before I forgot to mention something in regards to Ada and Annette. So I'll say it here because I don't want to go back and edit that part again. Like, Ada makes it sound like she has an ongoing feud with Annette when she says, you always been good at running, Annette. But they don't know each other. So why did the writer thought it was a good idea to put that line in? I don't know. Once again, we would have to ask him why he did this very good job in of course I'm being sarcastic, but yeah, no, honestly I think the dialogues are pretty mediocre in general. It's people saying, well, this one is much better than the original. I don't know what the fuck they're smoking, honestly, because the dialogues here are pretty mediocre overall. And considering the bigger budget this remake had, it's quite laughable. I didn't even mention the things that everybody already knows, like the lack of the zapping system, the lack of a decent soundtrack in the remake, Mr.X teleporting in some instances, that's also very annoying. I didn't mention it because I mean I probably forgot to mention a few things, but there was so much to talk about in this video that you'll have to forgive me if I don't mention everything. But I wanted mostly to talk about the things that not many people talk about, like I did in this video. And also I made it seem like I don't like swearing. I personally have no problem with swearing. My problem with swearing in the games, during, like, inside the games, is that the way the Western writers do it nowadays is that they put it in like way too frequently, every 2 seconds, or everything that happens, the character will swear out of nowhere. And I think it cheapens the whole experience, it cheapens the writing, it cheapens the story, the dialogues. In my opinion, swearing should be in only as an enhancer to let the player know that the character is feeling very strongly about something that is happening on screen right now. The game in the series that did it best, in my opinion, is Resident Evil Remake, because the characters don't usually swear throughout the game in Remake 1. But in some cases, when they get particularly frustrated or they feel a strong emotion, they will swear only in that particular single instance. So it's not as overused and overplayed, like for example in the later games handled by Western writers. Like Ethan says "fuck" every 2 seconds. So I prefer like Resident Evil 1 Remake handle it. Like Chris calls Wesker a son of a bitch when Wesker reveals his plan.
And stars were umbrellas. No, rather, my little piggies.
What a scumbag.
The tyrant virus leaked, polluting this whole place. And unfortunately, I had to give up my lovely members of stars.
You killed them with your own dirty hands! You son of a bitch!
No.
Oh yes, dear. Just like this.
Becca!
Don't move!
Or Jill, when she gets frustrated because the radio doesn't work, she will say, "Shit, the radio doesn't work." Those kind of reactions by the characters I'm okay with, but not the character saying "fuck" every 2 seconds. It's very lazy writing. But I mean, if a game has no swearing, honestly, I don't think it's a problem. Like, do you honestly like feel like no swearing at all in Resident Evil 2 original or Resident Evil 3 was a problem? Even replaying them nowadays, I don't have a problem with the Resident Evil 1, 2 or 3 not having any swearing in them. Actually, it makes them more unique, because pretty much nowadays all games use that kind of dialogue. All games made by Western developers use those sensibilities in their dialogue, so yeah. And yeah, what else to say? I'm sure people will say, "Oh, you're nitpicking and whatever." I don't think I am, because I'm only making this video because I feel very strongly about these topics. Like I've said, Resident Evil, the classics, were a big part of my gaming youth. Let's call it that. And I wouldn't spending my time making an almost 2 hours or more, I don't know how long it's gonna be, video, wasting my time like this to talk about something I didn't feel strongly about. And if you disagree, it's fine. It's not a problem. But the problem is that I know how it works nowadays. Most people just care about that a game has your average standard uniformed gameplay, your third-person camera from behind the back, your shooter controls, and that's it. That's what most people care about. It doesn't matter if the writing in a game is shit. It doesn't matter if the if the gameplay loop has problems. Just give them the fucking shooting and gameplay behind the over-the-shoulder camera and they'll be happy. You don't believe me? I mean, people are asking for a Resident Evil 1 remake. Why? We already have one. Oh, right, because it has fixed cameras and it doesn't have your standardized TPS controls. That's why they're asking for a Resident Evil 1 remake once again, just for that. I think it's laughable, because you're only going to get Resident Evil 2 remake once again if they do a remake 1 again with TPS controls, but we'll see. And these same people will say that people like me have nostalgia goggles. The thing is that I have replayed Resident Evil 2 Remake and Resident Evil 2 Original this year, back to back. And I still think Resident Evil 2 holds up pretty well, overall. So I don't think I have nostalgia goggles, because if I would have felt differently while playing Resident Evil 2 Original, I would have said it. Yeah, it doesn't hold up. But no, it does hold up incredibly well, even though the gameplay is dated, of course, but there's nothing wrong with tank controls. Not sure what people have against tank controls. They still hold up fine, it's just a different type of gameplay. I guess it's a matter of habit. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is that those people will say that you have nostalgia goggles, but I will say that people who think like that, have shiny new thing goggles, because they can only play a game if it has modernized, standardized controls. They won't play a game like Resident Evil 2 Original because it has tank controls, and they don't touch tank controls. If a game is older than a thought years, they will ask for it to be remade. So it's you who have issues, not me. I play all types of games. I play modern games, old games, unlike you. And yeah, my last point. People will say, some people will probably say, well, they are reimaginings. They are not remakes. So they can change things. The characters can change. Well, let me tell you this. Like, what's the point of remaking a game if the characters are gonna be completely different persons? The story is gonna get changed. The dialogues are gonna get changed. Like, what's the fucking point of remaking a game if it's gonna be a different game? For the most part. And it's only going to vaguely resemble the original. At this point, you might as well make a new game, because the way Capcom is doing things is very sleazy, in my opinion, because they define these remakes as reimaginings, but they are using the names of the original games to latch on, so they get all the fame, the noise that these names have, because they are big names. Resident Evil 2 was the most sold Resident Evil at one point. So you get all the fame from the name, but none of the you shield yourself from criticism, because you say, well, it's our reimaginings, and the fanboys do this too. They will tell you, well, it's our reimagining, it doesn't have to be the same. Yeah, but you are using the name, you're using the name, you're pretty much replacing the name. of the original with the remake, because they are called the same. When you go and search on the internet, you click Resident Evil 2, most of the results will be about the remake, not the original. And that's a problem, in my opinion. If the remakes had some kind of different moniker to them, like a subtitle, people wouldn't complain as much. They are leveraging over this fact by naming the remakes the same as the originals and trying to replace them, because they also are not making the originals available on new platforms. And no, emulation is not a valid alternative, because most people don't like to emulate games. So the problem is Capcom not making these old games originals available on modern platforms. I don't know what's the reason. I don't know what the reason is, but their whole catalog, their whole pre-Resident Evil 4 catalog is pretty much gone, because you can't buy it anywhere. So you either have an old console or you emulate, but like I said before, not everybody can do that, is willing to do that. So what's stopping you from releasing a collection or re-release the games? I don't know. We will have to ask them. And yeah, I know I made it sound like I hate the remakes. And to be honest, I kind of do, because I think they will be much better off as new games. As games, they are decent games. The problem is that they have their names tied to the originals, to their legacy, and that's the problem. I would have enjoyed Resident Evil 2 remake way more if it was a different game unrelated to Resident Evil 2, if it was a new game, because it would have be able to stand on its own without obvious comparisons with the old one. Because as a game taken by itself, Resident Evil 2 Remake, I think it's a good game. The problem is that it is also a bad remake. So it's difficult to separate the two for me, because Resident Evil 2 is a very special game for me. But by making this remake called Resident Evil 2, I can't separate the two things. Yes, the remake is a good game, but it's also a very bad remake. So I'm gonna play it. Yeah, I did enjoy it overall, but the sour taste in my mouth remained, because I said to myself, this could have been much better and more faithful to the original. It sucks, because if only Capcom had made a Resident Evil 1 type style remake back then, when they had the chance, we wouldn't have these issues nowadays, because we will have both an old style remake and a new style remake. But no, at the time they thought it was not a financially sound idea, because they thought the formula was dead in the water, but they were wrong. And yeah, we now find ourselves with the situation we have today, with these remakes being churned out almost every other year, and then the old ones being completely forgotten by Capcom, which really sucks. But yeah, the video is over. I think I've said everything I wanted to say. So this was my late Christmas gift to you. I hope you're gonna enjoy it. And yeah, I wanted to put it out before the end of the year. It took me a long time to make this video, so if you enjoy it even a little bit, please like, subscribe and share it, because it took me really a long time to make this video. And yeah, let me know what you think, what your opinion is. I'm eager to read your comments. And I hope you enjoy the video, of course, and hopefully you'll have a good start of the year as well. But with this video, it's probable. You'll probably have if you watch this video. But yeah, jokes aside, thank you for watching, and let me know what you think, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.